When you think about a company, you probably picture a CEO, right? But have you ever wondered who's really pulling the strings? Today, we're going to take a journey right into the boardroom to figure out who actually runs the show.
You see, legally speaking, a company is considered an artificial person. It can own property, it can sue people, but it can't think for itself. It needs a mind, a central nervous system to make decisions and figure out where it's going. So, who is the company's brain?
Well, that would be the board of directors. It's not just one person, but a whole group of people. Think of them as the company's command center, its collective brain. This is where all the big picture decisions get made. They're basically the human pilots for this artificial person.
Okay, so if the board is the brain, how do you go about building one? It's not just a random group of people thrown into a room. There are some very specific rules about who gets a seat at the table, and it all starts with the numbers. Let's start with the big ones, public companies, the ones you see on the stock market. Because they're accountable to, well, the public, the law says they have to have a board with at least 3 directors. Now for private companies, which don't have public shareholders, the requirement is a little smaller. They need a minimum of 2 directors. And for a one-person company, well, as you can probably guess, the minimum is just 1. Makes sense, right? All right, this table kind of puts it all together for us. You can see the minimums we just talked about, but look at that maximum number. For all these companies, the standard upper limit is 15 directors. Now, that's not a concrete ceiling. If a company decides, hey, we need more brain power, they can go over 15. They just need to get special permission from the company's owners, the shareholders, to do it. But building a board isn't just a numbers game. To bring in different perspectives, certain big companies are actually required to have at least one woman director. And here's a big one. Every company must have a resident director. That's someone who has physically been in India for more than half the year. It just guarantees there's always someone on the ground who can be held accountable. So, we know the rules for the team, but how does an actual person get a spot on the roster? Well, it all starts with getting a very, very important number. The absolute first step for anyone who wants to be a director is getting what's called a Director Identification Number, or DIN. The easiest way to think about it is like a professional license. It's your unique lifetime ID from the government that says, yep, this person is officially eligible to serve on a company board. It's your golden ticket. And getting that license is a pretty straightforward process. You apply online, you upload your proofs of identity and address, you get it digitally signed off by an existing company officer, and then you just wait. The government usually reviews everything and issues your unique DIN within about a month. Okay, you did it. You've got your DIN, you've been appointed to the board. Now, you have to play by the rules. And one of the most important rules is all about keeping things fresh and making sure you're accountable. I mean, think about it. What happens if the same people stay on a board forever? They could get stuck in their ways, resistant to new ideas, and maybe, just maybe, a little less accountable to the actual owners of the company, the shareholders. So how do you stop that from happening? Well, the answer is a really clever system called retirement by rotation. It's basically a built-in term limit. The idea is that at every big annual shareholder meeting, a certain number of directors have to step down. This gives shareholders a regular chance to either re-elect them or bring in some new blood. It prevents the board from becoming a stagnant old boys club. Let's just walk through a quick example so this makes sense. Let's say you've got a board with 9 directors. Okay, step 1, you figure out who's in the rotational pool. That has to be at least 2/3 of the board, so 2/3 of 9 is 6. Simple enough. Then, step 2, at the annual meeting, 1/3 of that pool has to retire, so 1/3 of 6 is 2. Boom. 2 directors have to step down and their seats are now open for a vote.
And beyond rotation, there are some absolute deal breakers. Things that will get you automatically disqualified from being a director. You can kind of group them into a few buckets. Personal stuff, like being declared mentally unsound or bankrupt. Integrity issues, like being convicted of a serious crime. And just plain professional negligence, like being on the board of a company that hasn't bothered to file its financial paperwork for 3 years straight. Now, this is really important to get. Not every director on the board is the same. It's more like a team of specialists, and each one has a slightly different role to play. Let's look at 2 key types. On one side, you've got the independent director. Think of this person as the impartial referee. They have no financial connection to the company, and their only job is to look out for all the shareholders and make sure the company is run properly. Then you have the nominee director.
This person isn't impartial. They're there to represent the interests of a specific group, like a big investor or a bank that's loaned the company a ton of money. Their loyalty is to the people who put them there.
And there are other roles too. An additional director is someone the board brings on themselves, usually to fill a specific skill gap between the big shareholder meetings. And an alternate director is basically a substitute player. They step in for a director who's out of the country for more than 3 months, just to make sure the board always has a full team on the field. But here's the thing. Regardless of their specific title, whether they're independent, a nominee, or something else, every single director is bound by the same set of fundamental duties. This is their moral and legal compass.
And this quote, which comes straight from the Companies Act, says it all. A director's job isn't just about the profits. They have a legal duty to act in good faith for a whole bunch of stakeholders: the company, the employees, the shareholders, the community, and even the environment. It's a huge responsibility.
So when you boil down all that legal language, what does it really mean for a director on a day-to-day basis? Well, it comes down to these core ideas. You have to be diligent and use your own judgment, no phoning it in. You have to put the company first, always. That means avoiding conflicts of interest and never using your position to get rich unfairly. And finally, you can't just pass your job off to someone else. The buck stops with you.
Which brings us right back to our big question. Is being in the boardroom about having power, or is it about having responsibility? And while it's definitely a position of power and influence, the law makes it crystal clear that first and foremost, it is a seat of profound responsibility. The brain of the company isn't there for its own glory. It's there to make sure the entire body thrives.